What you're about to hear will permanently change how you see people. This is not insight. This is not psychology. This is not self-improvement. Once you understand this, you will start noticing who dominates you in silence, who studies your reactions, and who benefits from your need to be liked. You won't be able to unsee it. Conversations will feel different. Friendships will feel conditional. Respect will stop feeling random. Most people live comfortably because they never look at how power actually works. They believe effort is rewarded. They believe kindness is safe. They believe everyone is playing the same game. They are wrong. Social dominance does not come from confidence, intelligence, or morality. It comes from something far older and colder. Emotional leverage, asymmetry of need, and tolerance for loss. This knowledge is dangerous because it doesn't make you feel better. It makes you aware of why some people speak freely while others seek permission, why some are interrupted and others are never challenged, why the person who cares the least often decides everything. This is not advice you use. This is a set of laws you either recognize or continue obeying unconsciously. If you value comfort over clarity, stop now, because what follows will show you how power actually forms, why most people surrender it without a fight, and why once you see these rules, you are responsible for what you do with them. These are the 3 dark principles of social dominance everyone fears, and once you hear them, there is no going back. Every social interaction contains a hidden equation. It is never spoken. It is never acknowledged. But both nervous systems are calculating it in real time. Who needs who more? This question decides everything. Who compromises? Who apologizes? Who tolerates disrespect? Who walks on eggshells? Who sets the rules? And the disturbing truth is this: the person who is emotionally less invested always holds the upper position. This is not about cruelty. It's not about manipulation. It's about leverage. Human beings are deeply sensitive to dependency signals. We can sense when someone needs approval, needs validation, needs inclusion, needs harmony. That need leaks through micro behaviors: over-explaining, excessive reassurance, quick apologies, fear of silence, difficulty setting boundaries. The moment need becomes visible, the hierarchy tilts. Because need creates risk, and dominance always flows toward the individual who is least threatened by loss. This is why the person who cares more sends the longer message. The one afraid of abandonment accepts unfair terms. The one who needs peace sacrifices self-respect. And here's the rule that makes people deeply uncomfortable: attachment asymmetry creates authority asymmetry. The person who could emotionally survive your absence speaks with more certainty, moves with less urgency, does not chase closure, does not rush to repair tension. They don't threaten to leave, they simply don't fear it. And your nervous system feels that immediately. This is why dominance often emerges not from assertion, but from emotional self-sufficiency. The group doesn't submit because they are impressed. They submit because they sense: if this bond breaks, it will cost me more than it costs them. That imbalance silently restructures behavior. People call it confidence. They call it charisma. They call it strong energy. But it's something colder and more precise. It's freedom from emotional dependence. And once people sense you have that freedom, they negotiate with you differently. Every group runs on invisible rules. Rules that aren't written down but are strictly enforced. Don't be too blunt. Don't disrupt emotional comfort. Don't challenge authority openly. Don't say what others are thinking. Most people follow these rules instinctively, not because they agree with them, but because violating them risks exclusion, ridicule, or social demotion. But dominance begins the moment someone breaks a rule, and nothing happens. No correction, no backlash, no punishment. The room freezes for a fraction of a second, and then something critical shifts. The group's internal model updates. This person operates under different constraints. This is one of the darkest mechanisms in social life. Authority is not assigned, it is inferred from tolerated deviation. The person who can interrupt without apology, who can ignore emotional cues, who can refuse rituals of politeness, who can speak plainly when others soften their language, becomes the reference point, not because they demanded power, but because the group allowed them to keep it. Dominance doesn't require aggression, it requires immunity. Immunity to shame, immunity to correction, immunity to social retaliation. This is why some people can say offensive things and remain respected. Some people can set harsh boundaries without being challenged. Some people can break rules others would be punished for. The group isn't deciding who they like. They're deciding who they fear destabilizing. Because punishing a dominant individual risks confrontation, and confrontation risks exposure of the hierarchy itself. So the group adapts, They self-censor, they adjust expectations, they normalize the violation. And just like that, dominance becomes structural. The terrifying part? Most people participate in their own subordination by enforcing rules only on those who comply with them. They correct peers, they shame equals, they hesitate with those above. And in doing so, they reinforce the hierarchy. Dominance survives not through force but through selective enforcement. This is the principle people resist the hardest because it collides directly with the fantasy of unconditional acceptance. We're told influence comes from making others feel valued, from reassurance, from emotional availability, from being indispensable. That works for bonding. But dominance operates under a different law. People submit more deeply to those who do not signal dependency on them. Why? Because dependency reverses leverage. The moment someone senses, "You need me to feel stable," they gain power over you, and power does not coexist comfortably with respect. Dominant individuals send one quiet, unnerving signal: "I will be fine without you." Not verbally, not dramatically, energetically. They don't over-reward compliance. They don't chase alignment. They don't beg for loyalty. They don't collapse when someone withdraws. And that creates a subtle threat. If I don't stay aligned, I can be replaced. This threat is rarely conscious, but it activates something ancient. Evolutionary psychology tells us groups orbit individuals who signal survivability without the group, because those individuals represent safety, competence, and continuity. This is why leaders who don't plead retain authority. Individuals who don't overinvest gain influence. Scarcity of validation increases its value. The paradox is brutal. The less you rely on others for emotional regulation, the more power they assign to you. This isn't about being cold. It's about being complete. People don't follow those who need them. They follow those who choose them. Choice always outranks need in social hierarchies, and the moment others feel chosen rather than required, their behavior shifts. They comply more. They invest more. They seek approval more intensely, not because they were told to, but because the structure changed. Why these principles feel forbidden? Because they dismantle comforting myths. They reveal that kindness does not equal influence. Effort does not guarantee respect. Emotional investment often weakens leverage. They expose why the most agreeable person is often ignored. The most emotionally available person is taken for granted. The calmest person sets the pace of the room. And once you see this, you begin noticing patterns everywhere. Why certain people never get challenged. Why some voices dominate without volume. Why others shrink the moment tension appears. This knowledge is unsettling because it shifts responsibility. You can no longer blame confusion. You can no longer pretend dynamics are random. You can no longer hide behind intentions. Clarity removes innocence. And that's what people fear most. The real threat isn't dominance, it's unconscious submission. Most people are not oppressed by tyrants. They are governed by their own emotional needs. Need for approval, need for belonging, need to be seen as good, need to avoid conflict. These needs leak into behavior. Over-agreement, nervous laughter, excessive justification, boundary erosion, tolerance of disrespect. The dominant individuals didn't become dominant by crushing others. They simply learned not to hemorrhage power unconsciously. They learned to regulate their attachment, to tolerate discomfort, to survive emotional separation without panic. And once that internal shift occurs, the external world responds automatically, not out of admiration, but out of recognition.